Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, the podcast aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. Spiritually intimate, soul-to-soul conversations, life-changing insights, and spiritual teaching and healing. Real, raw, unfiltered. Join your host, Tisha Michelle.
When was the last time you truly took time out to focus on yourself? Welcome and welcome back to Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. So in this present moment, I would say that I am grateful for the fearlessness in my children. Doesn't mean that they don't have fears. It just means that they don't allow it to stop them from living. So most recently, my oldest son, who's 21, he just moved to Hawaii. Yes, Hawaii, what's up? When it was time for me to go to Arizona, or when those downloads was hitting, I remember sharing it with him. And there was a part of me that, not going to say that I would seek validation from my children, but I'm super close with all of my kids. So if they're on board of something, it's like, hell yeah, let's go. Let's rock this out. So it always feels good to have them on board with something, just because me and my kids have been rocking together for a really long time. I was pregnant at 16 and had my oldest at 17. So what's up? But I remember when I said about moving and he was like, I'm down, let's go. I was like, what? Okay, cool. And even before we actually moved, that month beforehand, when I went down there for the retreat, I talked about that in an earlier episode. And I went down there and it was our first time and we drove. We took that ride together, 30 hours, not knowing anything about, traveling that far by car, in a sense, he was there. So it was great, that opened him up. And now here we are, 18 months later. And now he's decided to branch out and to move to Hawaii. And I know a lot of people, talk about, the empty nest and stuff like that. I still have 2 more children at home, however, it is a little bittersweet. And I say bitter because oh, that's my kid. We're not even in the same state anymore. But at the same time, I'm super excited, for him in this next chapter. And the fact that he's just I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to go live there. And I'm go, do you explore? You have this opportunity now to just do whatever it is that you want to do, and if you're in Hawaii for a couple months and you're you know what, I think I'm going to bounce and go, I want to go spend about a month or 2 months in Thailand, go explore. So my oldest son now is in Hawaii and my oldest child, she's in LA. So she moved to LA last January. So just the fearlessness in them. And again, does not mean that they don't have their own fair struggles of things that they, might be afraid to do or whatever that may be, but they're not allowing it to stop them from living. And that's what I'm truly, truly grateful for in this present moment. So now your turn. What's up, guys? What are you grateful for? Unless you are driving, you guys know the deal. Go ahead and close your eyes and let's get a little grounded before we express some of this gratitude. So I want you to take a nice deep breath, and I just want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's take another nice deep breath, just breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And let's just get one more in. Nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes. Doesn't that feel good? I know it does. So what are you guys grateful for? Scan that life, man. Do a review. What are you grateful for? Say it out loud. Say it in your head. Pause me for a little bit so you can just journal. Maybe you just want to just scream it out. Whatever it is, release and express that gratitude. Yes, 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 yes. All right, guys. So I have another guest for you guys. Oh my God. So Woody stopped by to have a conversation on Seeing with Your Soul. So Alex Woodrow, aka Woody, is a best-selling author, a yoga and meditation guide, and a founding member of the rock band Our Last Night. Yes, guys, he's a real straight up rock star. And our last night, one of the largest independent rock bands on the planet. He's the author of the self-help book, You Are the Rockstar, which takes readers from confusion to clarity and helps overcome the challenges life throws at us. The book is super dope. And I say super dope because it's such an easy read and you're able to just really digest it. So I hope, especially after listening to our conversation, that you guys would go out and check out his book, You Are the Rockstar. So Woody is also a content contributor on my network, the Hag TV network. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. You can actually go to the streaming service on Roku. And when you go to Roku, just search Hag TV network. Make sure you put the network because I was on there just as Hag TV, but I did a whole revamp. So it's Hag TV network. Add the channel, check out some of the stuff that's on there. So much more to come as I continue to build this network. And once you check it out, I would love for you to give me a rate there. It'll say when you add the channel, it'll say rate this channel. So give it your honest rating, as well as if you maybe have some content, maybe you have a podcast yourself and you want to do video and would like to have it on TV. I'm definitely looking for some more contributors. So, or if you know someone that may want to have their content to be streaming and on a platform that has over 40 something million people, what's up? Send them my way. You can just reach out to me on Instagram at Mindset Slayer. Honestly, that's probably the best way. But if you do want to send me an email, that's cool too. Tisha at Heal, Align, and Glow. Okay, guys, so let's tune into the conversation that I had with Woody. Hope you enjoy. Well, welcome to Seeing with Your Soul. So around here, I always like to start off by just expressing gratitude. So my question to you is, in this present moment, what are you grateful for?
Well, I'm really grateful in this moment for the support of my family and friends and for the relationships that I have with them, the connections and the nurturing, specifically speaking, the nurturing relationships that I have with all of them. I just had my birthday this past week on Monday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had the opportunity to travel to California to see a lot of my friends who I pretty much consider my family. And that was because my family had gifted me a trip to California without me knowing just last week. So they all were kind of connected. And it was a nice reminder of the magic in my life. And that's, I think, part of having epic relationships that reflect greater than we even believe ourselves to be. And that was what I felt while there. And it was a nice reminder, nice grounding period. It was very chill. It wasn't like running around a ton. It was very chill, but it was magical. A lot of great dinner conversation, just good convos in general, dropping in with some friends of mine who I haven't seen in a long time. And yeah, that's something I'm really grateful for right now is just the level of relationships that I've been able to cultivate in my life. And as they continue to grow, we continue to expand together. And I think there's a lot of magic in that.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I mean, it is. It's such a good way to really just like reflect on the people that we have around us versus, and you really get to kind of like see like the support comes in a different way. Sometimes we may think support has to be like this, but sometimes it's just really those meaningful relationships that you can just sit around, have some good food, some good conversations. I love that. That's a lot that's been in the forefront for me lately is meaningful relationships, right? And I remember, I don't know if you even know like my story in that sense of my awakening began because when my best friend died in 2017. So that was my best friend like at that time, like 22 years. So this was a couple years ago, but I always had this thing. I'm like, no new friends. I don't need any new friends. I don't need any new friends. Right. And it was just this thing. And then I was like, wait, what just happened? Like you took my friend away. And I was very closed off. Like I know a lot of people and a lot of people like know me, but I didn't really get close with people or allow people to get close to me. And as I started awakening and the self-discovery, I started going down that path. I started seeing that was really coming from a trauma, of why I kept people like at a distance. So since I've opened up a lot more, I've like met some like amazing people that sometimes I share things with. And I'm like, before I'd be like, I would never share that. I was like, I don't even know you, maybe telling you my business. And now I'm just understanding and appreciating like this meaningful relationships like in my life and really just want to like build upon that. So I thought that was like beautiful for you to be like the story you're grateful for. And one of those meaningful relationships is actually how we were connected, which is Janine. Whole crazy story how we even met each other. We were Facebook friends, and I ended up moving to Arizona and had no clue that she even lived in Arizona, because you know how it was Facebook, you run in the same circles. Like, we both were certified through the same person for hypnosis. So that was the connection that was there. And then I end up at this place and she's at that place and we're just looking at each other like, interesting. So cultivating that relationship with her is which like led us to like connect. And I was like, he's so badass. Like, this is so cool. Like, I was like, I'm like, yeah, guys, I know a rock star. I don't know about you guys, but I know a rock star. So I would just love for you to like share like with my listeners a little bit of your story. So when I say rock star, like, no, seriously, like, he's in a rock band, but he also meditates and does like yoga and does killer handstands. I'll be seeing on your posts. But if you don't mind just kind of sharing like how those worlds even came together.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, and there's so many different outlets I could take in regards to like lenses with different perspectives of how we got to where we are. I'd say for me personally, it was a lot of trusting, surrendering, and believing in myself, and also the music and my bandmates. Something that I had from the beginning of us starting as a band was something that I always just kind of believed in us being something greater. And that faith kind of helped to persevere through the failures and the challenges, just because we not only loved doing what we were doing, but there was this faith that like we were supposed to like be something more than we were. And I think it's a great driving force. We did the whole record label thing for 7 years, 2007 to 2013 ish, and we released 3 full-length albums with Epitaph Records, and a lot of learning experiences, a lot of not really getting what we felt was the light of day a little bit shed upon us. We weren't really thrown a bone. We weren't really given the hookups. We kind of just got put on the shelf and we're told to kind of, just keep doing your thing. And for us, it just got really demoralizing after like 6 years of traveling around the country, driving in a 15-passenger van and eating fast food every night and sleeping on the floor in random people's houses. It got to the point where, we loved doing it, but we had to make a decision if we wanted to continue doing it, start something new, or just kind of end it and do something, I guess, different with our lives. And at that time, we pivoted and we started exploring YouTube. This is kind of like right as YouTube was getting bigger. And we had a tour manager at the time who said, hey, give me 3 months of your time and let's go all in and see if we can flip this around. And we were like, all right, whatever, let's just try it. Because we didn't have people coming to our shows anymore at that point. And, we weren't making any money. We were stuck in this record contract that kind of just was sucking us dry. There was a light at the end of the tunnel in regards to that contract ending, which was what was kind of the pivot point of us being like, hey, do we want to keep doing this or do we just kind of want to not? And so we tried exploring YouTube and doing covers on YouTube, making them like heavy rock and metal style, using like traditional top 40 pop songs. And we did it. And the first one we did was Adele's Skyfall, and it went viral. It got like 250,000 views in like 3 or 4 days, which for us was epic because I mean, we hadn't had promotion like that in the whole 7 years of being in a band, at least on a label. And then we go and do this organic video we film in our studio in New Hampshire by ourselves with a friggin' tripod on a dolly that we're just, and then all of a sudden it goes viral and we have people coming out of the woodwork being like, yo, I used to listen to you guys back in the day, forgot about you, but now I'm back. And it kind of reinvigorated a bit of our like foundational fan base, which was cool. So that was really tight. And then over the course of the next, it's been now almost 8 years of exploring and learning YouTube. We've now built our band into a massive force to be reckoned with in regards to the music industry, as well as from a business perspective. And we've grown our YouTube to just about 2 million subscribers. And we just surpassed 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify, which is a huge accomplishment. And I mean, as of literally yesterday, we had our first viral TikTok. So,
nice.
There we go.
There you go. You made it. TikTok.
Yeah. there we go. So now it's on a different level. But that whole journey was something that was a lot of self-discovery in regards to the band and our style of music. But in this moment, I want to speak upon kind of my own personal journey, just because I think that's going to be the most meaningful. Yeah. At least for me, obviously.
Yeah. No.
But for the longest time, we were known as a band that was doing well. right? Like anyone looking from the outside in has a different perspective than what it's actually like to be inside. Kind of that classic grass is always greener vibe. And so all my friends at home who were like getting jobs and all that stuff, were looking at us as being like, well, they're still touring the world and the country and everything, and they're living the dream, if you will.
Yeah.
Mind you, like we're going home scraping by, working just to go on tour to blow through the cash we saved up and then come home and be broke. And yeah, I guess it was living the dream in a way, but it just was a different kind of dream than what most people think. It's not as glamorous and as like flashy as some people might believe. And so while we were kind of like going through all the trials and tribulations and like learning and stuff, I kind of started to feel as though I was an imposter. And I started to feel like I was not this idea that people thought I was. They would see success in regards to myself and my band. I didn't feel it. And I think a lot of times in our life, when we have achieved some level of success in some people's mindset, they will then kind of either compare us to their lives, or they will start to kind of like oftentimes project their beliefs onto you. And it can feel unsettling if our foundation isn't strong. And I didn't have a strong foundation at the time. So this was, around 2008 to like 2010, 11-ish. And I was really kind of not confident in my musicianship, my musical ability. I wasn't really confident with my body. I wasn't really confident in just kind of who I was as a being, like my voice, my own creative energy. I just didn't have my own personal foundation. And so I would get thrown for a loop a little bit when people would see me as successful because I didn't feel it. I think a lot of people can relate because it happens.
Yeah.
It's like, it totally happens. So for me, it was a pain point in regards to a really intense lower back stress fracture that I got in high school that led me through college, kind of to where sometimes it would hurt to walk. Other times it would be like debilitating where I'd be lying in bed and just like everything hurt. And then there'd be times where it would be fine, but I just never really knew how my back was going to be. So it wasn't until I discovered in 2010 the powers of yoga that my back pain mysteriously disappeared. And so I look at it as a sign from a higher power being like, hey, we're going to give you this pain and you're going to need to learn from it. You're going to need to explore until you find something that's not just a temporary Band-Aid, but you got to find something that's a lifestyle shift.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle shift of discovering yoga, which ultimately calmed my mind down to the point where I could meditate, then led me to a stronger foundation. So it was kind of like this natural progression of like yoga and then meditation. And then I all of a sudden became a lot more confident in who I was, my own being, my own creative voice. And even in that, it's still a journey always. But that's what I guess I got my like foundation from, so that this way I started to kind of operate from a more confident, more aware space. So the best way I can describe it is that it was as if I had foggy, like schmutzy sunglasses on, and I was trying to see the world, but it was through a lens that was foggy and schmutzy and scratched up. And then I discovered yoga and meditation, and it started to clear that lens up. It was like it polished it. So then I started being able to hear on stage my bandmates differently. Yeah. I could like feel them differently. I knew where they were without even needing to look. I could like, and it's weird to say, but I could like feel them. No, and if anyone looks on my Instagram, you'll know I jump around on stage and do some pretty wild stuff with my guitar. I like to have fun. And so you got to kind of know where your guys are at, almost like you're playing a professional sport a little bit if you're going to be doing stuff like that. And I could just feel where they were. It wasn't even like, it was almost as if it was a sixth sense or like an intuition, if you will, something I didn't really have before. And I started noticing that it wasn't even just with them, it was with the audience. And I started being able to connect with our fan base in a way, way different way, to the point where I used to kind of look down and just rock out to myself. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like staring into people's eyes and just connecting with them on such a deep level that it gives me chills thinking about it, because that's one of my highest excitements, is playing live music and connecting with people at our shows. And I can tell you, with conviction, that it's a product of yoga and meditation, because I think we're all mirrors, whether you like it or not, we're all mirrors. And every single person we meet is a reflection of us. And I've had a couple conversations recently about this in regards to being like triggered by other people, because I don't really believe we're triggered by other people. I believe we're triggered by information and things that we don't have a positive relationship that's spoken of. And if we're triggered by it, it just means we haven't worked on our relationship with what's being said. It's Absolutely. Not the person, right? It's not the other person. They're just offering a mirror for us to work on, whatever it is that's being spoken of. And so taking that analogy to the music and being on stage, I started being able to see people and reflect back to them. And sometimes people would stare and then they'd look away, they'd be like, oh my gosh, she's staring at me, oh my gosh, this is awkward. But I was so comfortable in who I was that I kind of wanted to put that on display. I wanted to connect. I didn't care if people saw me. I didn't care if I appeared weird. I was in a very, very high experience, wanting to reflect that back and have people feel that. And ironically, it all came from a pain point of some really severe low back pain that I had that was also stemming from my lack of confidence. And it has since permeated every area of my life, whether it's musicianship, whether it's instructing yoga classes, guiding meditations, whether it's creating music or just connecting with people in general through conversation. It's kind of, in a way, affected every area in a positive light because I chose to work on myself. That's really the power that things like yoga and meditation can bring into our lives. And I do realize yoga might not be for everyone, but I still think everyone should find a self-reflective practice, which is where meditation comes in as kind of a universal, to me, it's almost a universal truth. It's similar to what I would consider a prayer energy or just a self-reflective practice of like sending positive thoughts to people or positive thoughts to ourselves, clearing our mind. There's literally infinite benefits, as you know, to meditation. But with yoga, it's one of these things where, yeah, I encourage people to find what they're passionate about. And yoga is something I'm really passionate about. I love moving my body. I love finding ways to move easily through what would be traditionally difficult movements. Yeah. I like having fun with it. And the more I do that, the more the things in my life that appear difficult, I find that I can flow with them because I think everything's connected. So like, it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question in a way.
No, but it's perfect.
It's all over the place for me. I could take multiple outlets, but or multiple perspectives in regards to how I've evolved as a human being within my band. That's just the one that's coming through for me right now. That's the most meaningful as we've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations as a band, but also as myself individually going through, constant failures that you have to choose to reframe as learning experiences and then keep going. Because that's ultimately what we're faced with is like, are we willing to pivot like we were when we were about to break up? Like it was either pivot or die in a way, like figuratively, but we pivoted. And so I think a lot of people, we get caught up on thinking the world has to be a certain way. And for us, we thought we weren't a cover band for years, which is why we never did a cover until we tried the YouTube thing. And now, honestly, I can say with confidence, we're one of the world's greatest cover bands.
Nice. There you go. Own it.
You just got to own it. But we had to pivot. And then it became our business model to promote our original material. So kind of just reflecting on that a little bit, it's about releasing the attachment to the way we think the world's going to be and how we're going to be in it so that this way we can continue evolving into a more expansive view of not only the world, but ourselves. And oftentimes that's greater than anything we can even comprehend in the moment, which is why, coming back to relationships, it's so great to have epic people in our lives because they can often see that stuff. Right?
Seriously. Oh my gosh. So much to unpack. And that was just beautiful. I loved it. Like you literally touched on so many things that I talk about so much like on the podcast. So it's so great to have someone else to like reflect that back and, have the listeners like hear. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go off of what I could, storing in my head. But one where I always talk about like, those pains that we have like in our body, like, that physical stuff starts from the internal, right? So, with your back, that's our, like our root chakra, right? What's our root chakra is our foundation. And I love that you kept using that word and you kept saying like, you didn't really have that foundation. So whenever we are, I hate to say like lacking, but there's something within us that we're not really like producing or whatever the case may be, it'll start to manifest in the external, which yours was the back, right? So a lot of times people will look at this pain and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older and this and that. And it's like, no, your body's doing exactly what it was designed to do, to let you know when you're not in alignment with something. And for you, perfect word, foundation, right? And that, the universe was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna help you out here. So let me send this your way and see if you're gonna pick up on the signals, and which led you to yoga. Now, you're right. Does that mean everybody's led to? No, absolutely not. There's so many different like healing modalities and things, but the key is to explore, right? And to do as many, or trying to see what is your yoga like in your life. For me, I struggled with yoga. I was like, I'll be honest with you. In the beginning, I was like, this is stupid because this is too hard. And I was like, I don't even understand how people could do this. This makes no sense, right? But that was the closed off version of Tisha. And then as I started to like this awakening and stuff. And I said, okay, I see what it was. I was focusing so hard on trying to be perfect in this move, in this position, that I just forgot to just be there, like to just be there and just allow it to just flow. And that happens so much just in life. We focus on this one particular thing and it's just like, chill out, just back up a little bit. You even talked about, surrendering, right? And I always say the thing that we resist, or the things that we resist the most, is something we need to do. You guys were resisting the covers. And then when you did the coverage, you're like, wait a minute, what just happened? It's just like blew up. And then all these people started coming out. And then you're like, wait a minute. Like, so I thought that was a great example of how when we resist, things, it's like, you know what, just trust the universe a little bit. Just go ahead and do it. Like, I don't even like to say what's the worst that can happen. My mind goes to that, but just really think about it. It's not going to be harmful, to do that in that sense. So I thought that was cool. Also, when you went back to like how y'all were grinding, but from the outside people were looking and I'm like, oh, you guys are killing it and this and is that. And meanwhile, I guess it's safe to say, like, you're like dying inside. Like, I don't, questioning like, your identity and that imposter syndrome coming up. And I like that you even gave that portion, because there's so many times people where they'll look on like social media and they'll see someone or whatever case, and they're like, oh my gosh, like they're this, they're that, and this is great. And then they start to be down on themselves, but they have no idea what the other person is going through. And like I said, like we're all like the same in that sense. We just have different challenges. And also where people are seeing you like, oh, you're killing it, and you're like, yeah, we're living someone's dream in this sense, but it's not 100% your dream in that case. So it was just so much to like really like unpack with that, where it's just like the beauty in life and just opening yourself up to other perspectives and different modalities such as like yoga and like meditation, and where you would think it's just like, well, how could yoga help you with like in the band? But to see like it's beautiful if you can really start to lay that foundation for yourself and embrace these different things. You do start to see life through a different lens, because the foundation is you. So once that foundation within yourself is laid and it's firm, of course, the other areas of your life is going to start to fall in place. And that's your intuition on the stage, jumping up and down and stuff, knowing where your people are at, because you're so in tune, like, and you're trusting more than the podcast is seeing with your soul, right? So you're not seeing with just like the physical eyes in that sense. You're literally seeing with your soul. So you know where your people are, because you're connected to them and you're trusting and literally stepping out on faith that you're not going to fall and knock somebody over. And I think that's dope itself.
Sorry, you go.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it's hard to compartmentalize some stuff when you're talking about 17 years of experience being in a band, because that's when we started. It was like 2004. So thinking about it, it's like hard to like, put it into one timeline, so that's probably why I covered so many things, because I was like doing my best to, even though it was like only the tip, just like a little bit, but definitely a strong testament to, the power of pivoting, and then as well as taking your pain points as lessons for guidance and following where they're like where they're kind of not pushing, but like guiding you, I suppose. And guidance is such a powerful term for me, because when I started discovering this one style of yoga that I love so much, the founder of this style of yoga actually wrote the foreword to my first book, You Are the Rockstar, Step Into Your Power and Live Your Purpose. And
great book, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Her name's Tara Stiles, and she's been like a huge mentor for me in my life, because when I discovered her kind of yoga, I was doing the same thing that you were talking about, Tisha. I was doing the same thing where like I found yoga and my back pain went away. It was great. But I was practicing these kinds of yoga that were so stiff and rigid that I would go on tour and then I would be literally pissed off at my band, at the world, at myself, if I didn't do my full 90-minute practice of like 13 postures standing, 13 seated. And like, if I didn't do them right in the correct alignment, I would just be like angry and irritable. And I eventually had this realization of really wondering, hey, how is what I'm practicing actually reflecting how I want to live? Because that's what happens, right? When we practice something over and over again, it eventually becomes how we live.
Yeah.
And when I discovered Strala was about learning how to move with yoga, traditional yoga poses, but it's a movement-based system built upon ancient principles of Tai Chi and Qigong, infused with yoga movements. So it's like you're doing yoga stuff, but you're moving. There's an emphasis on movement rather than posing. And there's less emphasis on, it sounds weird, but it's less emphasis on alignment, because the idea is that the trust is that people will get themselves in the alignment that is healthy for them. And in
I
doing
like that.
so, they'll be less in their head thinking about, am I doing it right? And more in their body. And so that this way they're feeling rather than thinking. And when they start, honestly, it's the guide's responsibility in front of the room to get people into a place like that, and to build them up safely, of course. You need to have a guide who knows what they're doing, so that this way people aren't jeopardizing, the structure of like the movements, if you will.
Yeah.
Like you don't want people compromising their body in certain ways, and that comes with proper guidance. But it's less about instruction of, like pinpointing certain parts of the body, because it takes you out of the experience and it puts you into this more thinking space. And again, this is my own perspective, but this is something I've found, that I've had this reflected back to me by a lot of my friends who are Strala yogis, that all of a sudden their life changed when they discovered it, because all of a sudden they start realizing that they love moving, and moving feels damn good. And it's not about like always having stiff, rigid postures, to power through all the time. It's more about learning how to move with ease and grace so that you can bring that into your life and meet the challenges, the obstacles, the difficulties with that same ease and grace, rather than with force. Now, there's many ways to get to an end point, of course. You could power through something and blast down it. You could also go around it. It's just based upon philosophy. But my goal is to not have a deteriorated body later when I'm older. My goal is to, empower my body. And when I was practicing this really intense style of yoga, my body started to break down and I started not being able to do some stuff. I almost tore my hamstring. I had a teacher tell me, hey, like if you're feeling pain behind your knee, you might want to just like take a break for a little bit, because you might be about to like bust your hamstring and be out of commission for a while. Wow. And I was like, I don't do this to be injured.
Yeah, exactly.
Not be injured. I'm not in the NFL. I'm not in like, I'm not doing this to be hurt later. I'm doing this to empower my body. And I just was practicing in a forceful way and fighting through things rather than having the philosophy of like flowing with things. And I think there's a healthy balance between the two. There's this concept called Wu Wei that was talked about in one of my Strala trainings that I did, which is kind of the difference between completely limp and completely stiff. It's this like middle ground, and finding this middle ground to where you can flow with what comes. You're not passive to the world. You're still imposing your will on it. This is my own terminology, of course. You're still imposing your will, but you're still at ease with what comes, so you can move with it. So in a way, it kind of turns into this like funky hybrid martial arts meets yoga, kind of vibe, which I'm all about, because I like to move my stuff on stage. It's off the hip. And like people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, yo, yoga. Like, how do you do that with your guitar? How do you move like that? I'm like, dude, yoga. Like, yo, can you teach me how to do that? Can you teach me how to throw your guitar around your head? And I tell everyone who asks me that, I'm like, you got to do yoga first. Because if you slow me down on stage, I've done it before with videos of me, I'm moving my entire body. I'm not just whipping the guitar around my head. I literally move the entire thing with it. And that is a product of learning how to move in healthy ways that feel good for me. So it's not this vicious, abrupt force, because to me, that can work for a period of time. And I'm sure it works great for a lot of people. I know it does, but I want to be sustainable. I want to be consistently sustainable as I continue to grow and be able to do this for a long period of time. And I don't know when shows will come back, but I mean, I want to be able to jump around and do crazy ninja shit on stage, excuse my language, but do crazy ninja stuff on stage. And as long as I can be on stage, so.
Exactly. No, I love that. And I love how you're just like, I don't know what to tell you guys, yoga, like get your life together, yoga, like what's the problem? Why don't you know this? I'm so confused. Like, but I think it's because people resist things like that. They resist meditation, they resist yoga, they resist reflecting and spending time, because there's just a fear that's in there. And then there's this assumption of what meditation is and what yoga is. Like for me, with yoga, I really thought that it was just that rigid, that structured, and I had to, and it was a hard pose, and I have to do this a certain way. And oh my gosh, like how could I just get my body? And I was like, yeah, I check out, I'm done. And at that point, I didn't allow myself to explore more to even understand. Well, where did yoga first, originated from? What was the whole thing that and how did it change from there to where I'm seeing, right? And of course, not of course, but at that time, I wasn't even, my awakening hadn't happened. So I was so closed off to this. It's just this right there. And then as time started going, that's where I went down the rabbit hole, and it was, where did, yoga originated? What is this really about? And I was like, oh, and then I started to see like, okay, so no, that's not it. That's a whole different ball game over there versus how it originally just began, and how I can really start to open myself up and not have to feel so pressured and so hurting myself. Like, cause it was hurting. Being in that position, it was hurting. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to like, relax. And then I remember this just popped in my head. I used to study with these Jehovah Witnesses, right? And they are my friends, and I studied with them. And now looking back upon everything, I understand why I went through so many different changes. And that was so I can teach from experience, right? So that was a part of an experience in my life. And I remember one time, one of them saying something. It was like, yeah, you got to stay away from that yoga stuff, because they were saying there was this one girl, and the way she moved her body, that was nothing but the devil going through her. And I was like, what? But at that point, I just like checked it off, but it always stuck in my head, with it. But it was like, now when I look at it, I'm like, I envy you being able to move your body like that, and to be at ease, and to be at flow. And if you call that the devil, I don't care. Because I'm open to that movement and that flow, because I also want that to reflect, you said, to reflect my life. I don't want to be just stuck in this one way. So if I can, do there, it can also mimic and then open myself up. Like you said, when a challenge presents itself, it's like, oh, so how am I going to get through this right here, versus being like, oh my gosh, and in that type of sense. So but that's her saying that just popped in my head about yoga. But even with meditation, people think that meditation, you have to just be quiet, and that's it. That's the only way. Like,
chatter too that comes up. I feel like there's so much chatter in regards to like that little guy on your shoulder, or girl, or whoever on your shoulder being like, stop, this doesn't feel good, stop, this doesn't feel good, stop, this doesn't feel good. And I think it's important to differentiate between the different styles of pain. Something I talk about in my first book was about just like the two different kinds of pain, where you have like an achy pain, and then you have a shooting pain. Now, like the shooting pain, I would consider more like what I had in my low back. And this is from my own experience, like the shooting pain, which some people might experience in like pigeon pose if they have like bad knees, or in certain yoga poses if they're a little bit, compromising joints in certain ways. Usually that's if like knees are not stacked over ankles, or hips over shoulders, like those kind of things. If you're out of alignment without strong core, like all these things can happen where you might feel shooting pain. And those are just signs that your body's telling you to like, slow your roll. But then there's also that nagging little voice on your shoulder pain that's kind of like sometimes trying to buffer our comfort zone to make sure that we don't push it. And that's the one that I like to kind of like tango with.
Yeah.
And dance with, and like mess with, and rock out with, and kind of like challenge, and just say, you know what, like I see you, but like you're not shooting pain. You're the pain that's telling me to give up when I'm like running and that I can't do it, or when I'm doing a yoga flow and I want to just lie down and not actually do it. That's the nagging internal like voice that's disguising itself as pain, but it's really just this weird, almost like buffer before we get to the edge. And the edge is great to learn and to expand into, because that's how we grow. And I think that can be translated regardless of what you do, whether it's yoga, or you do CrossFit, or if you do, you running, or any art-based thing, or even creating music, or just going through life in general. There's going to be times when you're not going to want to do it. And it is what it is. Like, that's life. Like, there's a lot of stuff in life that we might just not want to do, or we might find it's a little bit mundane, or we might find it's a little bit like achy, or it's just like blah. But it's part of the process of stretching ourselves so that we can become stronger and find our edge. And I think a lot of times I notice this a little bit more in the spiritual community, that it's a little bit more like of a passive approach rather than the balanced, like searching for the edge to expand into. And it's more like, well, I'm not going to do this right now because my energy's low because the moon's in like retrograde or something. And I'm like, I get it, but like if you got stuff going on in life, it doesn't matter what planet's in retrograde, you got to handle your business.
Handle it.
And that's part of, I think, understanding what the difference in pain is, to where if it's a discomfort pain that's just kind of makes you want to quit, makes you want to stop, makes you want to just let up off the gas a little bit, that's a kind of pain to play with and a kind to maybe like poke at and to have fun with. And then of course there's the shooting pain, which is like that's the signals. That's like your body's telling you something that you need to make some sort of shift, whether it's a momentary shift or a lifestyle shift. That's dependent upon what it is. But I think it's very important to acknowledge both of those styles of pain, because one causes you to expand while one will cause you to contract onto your ass, and then you'll have to heal for a while and won't be able to do anything. So
exactly, and which is why it's important to find that outlet that you use to be still and to like reflect whatever that is. And it could be drawing. It could be that you just say, you know what, I just want to just like draw right now, or I want to write, or I want to go meditate or do yoga or go for a walk or whatever. Because the more that you can really like get in tune with yourself, you'll know what that voice is, right? So like example, I'm opening up another home care agency, right? I had one and I sold it in 2018, and I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. The heck with this. But really I was just burnt out. And so I didn't really know what that sounded like. So now I'm starting, another one from scratch amidst the other businesses I have. And I was on a call with my team. So I'm going with the Paychecks company, who are going to do like my HR and do like, so because I'm offering like benefits and the 401k people and workers comp, all that good stuff, right? So that a couple of days ago was a call to meet my team. So I'm talking to them and they're introducing themselves and they're like, yeah, okay, we're gonna need you to fill out this for this. And as I'm listening to them, I'm sitting like this, and you guys can't see right now, but I'm sitting like this. And in my mind, I heard, this is going way too fast. And then instantly I caught myself and was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it is not. Right. So that voice was saying, oh, this is going too fast. Like, you got to like stop. But to keep me, safe in that sense. And I had to instantly catch it and say, no, it's not going too fast. This is what you need to do. This is the, your vision, and this is what you're building, and you want to build it on like a firm foundation. So, because my intention is to create this company that I would want to work for if I wasn't an entrepreneur. So, where in this industry, most people don't offer the caregivers, benefits and stuff, right? But there was that part that got scared really quick and was like, this is going too fast. But it's been like the past 3 years to build myself up to recognize that voice, to be able to say, because had this been a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, you're right. And I'd have been like, okay, thank you. Then I probably would have sent them an email. So like, thank you so much, but I'm going to put this on hold right now, and blah, 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 because of being like scared. But now that I know what that voice sounds like now I know what that voice sounds like. It's like, okay, this is what, this is. So you got to catch it right now. But I think that's the importance of being able to spend time with yourself and be more in tune with yourself, so you can know what that voice that you're talking about sounds like, and how it is, when you can check it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that it teaches us, whether it's like to observe if we're self-sabotaging, or to observe also, I think, if it's like trying to get us to play low, or to like play less than we know we're capable of. Because, when we expand, sometimes it can get scary. It can definitely get like, oh, this is too much for me to handle. But that's how we grow, and that's how we become capable of carrying more. Is we don't wish for less of a load. We just wish for more of an ability to carry it. Yeah. And how do you do that? You just do it. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you just do it. Like, you literally get to the point where you don't have a choice. And that's when things get epic, is when you make it non-negotiable. And when you're like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's not even a discussion anymore. I got to handle this. Like, It doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter what I'm feeling. Doesn't matter if I'm having a bad day, or if my energy's off, or even if my energy's on. I'm handling what I got to handle. And I think really what's important to really focus on, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. It's just, it doesn't have to be like in regards to finding what it is that will stretch you. It doesn't have to be like an intense, like, oh, I have to go do something with my life, or I have to go find this practice or do this. What's more important is to just look at how you create your foundation. So kind of going back to the foundation that we were talking about, I think it's really important to observe and look at how you're building the foundation of your day. And I'm a huge morning routine kind of person. You know, I like do my morning meditation before I even take my phone off airplane mode, just because I don't want the world to even come into that space yet. And then usually I'll do like a workout and yoga and those kind of things before I start my day. That's what I would really encourage people to focus more on than focus on, like, you know, what they have to do, what they have to get done, what they have to expand into. Because if you make a practice or something that you do so routinely that is non-negotiable, that will then set you up to be able to have more clarity, more drive, more of a muscle that you're used to working to stretch and to carry more of a load. Because kind of going back to like what we were talking about with relationships, like if you don't have a strong foundation, then it's easy to get triggered by a lot of stuff that comes at us in life, whether it's information, or we think it's the person when actually it's the information, or maybe it's just an event that happens and it's overwhelming. You get thrown for a loop, or I should say, I get thrown for a loop much less when I have my foundational practice. And everyone's is going to be different, which means it takes some exploration to see what works for us. Some people might not have, you know, an hour in the morning. They might have like 5 minutes to do a meditation or a workout or something like that. And that's okay. It's just, I think, a matter of exploring it to figure out what makes you start the day feeling like I'm amazing and like gets your energy on point. And it might take a little bit of time to figure what it is out, but you need to find something that puts into you before you go and try and put into the world. Because if you're doing that, you're doing what Lisa Nichols talks about, my coach. She's like, if you're pouring from your cup, you're doing yourself a disservice. She says, you got to pour from your saucer, not from your cup. Because she pours into her cup first, and that stays full no matter what. That's non-negotiable. She's not pouring out what's in her cup. She's pouring out to other people what's overflowing into her saucer. And I think that's such a beautiful analogy, right? Because we got to pour in order to give. And so many people, especially great friends of mine who are amazing givers and nurturers, they tell me all the time, they're like, I just feel drained. I feel drained because I'm constantly giving. I'm constantly sharing my energy. I'm constantly providing and nurturing for other people, and I'm not getting it back. And it's a constant conversation. I come back to, what foundational practices are you doing to put into you before you try and put into other people? Because it might sound selfish, it's not, but you're first, you know, like you're the most important person. You got to treat yourself accordingly to start your day, so that you're making it non-negotiable that you're the rock star of your life. I'm like, you know, like my bandmates texted me this morning. I mean, I was up to like 2 a.m. last night because I was answering TikTok comments. I mean, I sound like a teacher, right? But like I was answering TikTok comments because we got a viral TikTok video right now. And, you know, I was up super late, and then I got up and did my routine. I don't take my phone off airplane mode, and my band knows that. And I woke up to a bunch of text messages, which always happens. And they were like, oh, oh, Woody's probably still sleeping. Like he's probably like sleepy Woody over there, blah, blah. And it was just funny. And then I opened my phone and I was like, oh, you guys know that I don't put my phone on until I put into me. Like I do my meditation. I do my stuff. I mean, I was up also doing band related activities, so they couldn't really, you know, come down like that. I'm like, no, I'm out here grinding too. So, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I poured into me before anything, because if I don't, I notice my headspace is off. I'm not grounded. I'm like really distracted. And it's just really important, I think, to make something non-negotiable that is a part of your foundational routine that will continuously in some form cause self-reflection and growth. Because that's realistically what we all need, especially during trying times, is what's going to give us the foundational introspection, like the self-reflection of like, hey, what's going on with me right now? And what kind of energy am I pouring into me, as well as what am I expanding into, which is what I love about yoga, moving my body, as well as meditating, because the meditation causes self-reflection. I do Kriya yoga, which is like Kundalini kind of. And And that also causes a lot of expansion because I'm reaching an edge to the point where like, I don't know if I can hold my hands up anymore because I'm holding my hands above my head for like minutes on end, chanting crazy stuff. And all my roommates, I tell them like, yo, I'm going to sound crazy in the morning. You're not going to know what's going on. I'm going to be chanting in the other room, but it is what it is. But that's besides the point. But like, so like, that's a stretching, right? So like that for me is like stretching of my mental capacity and my physical body through meditation, which is why I like it so much because it kind of gives you everything. But through more of like a mindfulness meditation, you know, more clearing, more energizing, and then mixed with some type of active movement, yoga, running, working out, CrossFit, Pilates, whatever, that starts to get like the vessel ready to go. And that stretches. So I think if anyone's like listening to this and they're just kind of like, hey, I just need something to ground in, I need something to like start my day off right. Any of those, if any of them sound like, hey, I could try that, or that's interesting sounding, I want to look into that. I encourage you, do it and just do it with a beginner's mindset. Because when you do it with a beginner's mindset, you don't go in with any attachment. You go in there being like, hey, I'm going to suck at this probably. Let's go. And then you don't have to worry about it being amazing or you being amazing. You're just going to go in there and learn and then figure out if it's for you. And some stuff will, some stuff won't. But that's how we curate things that work for us and pour in the energy that we can then give, while at the same time finding our levels of constant reflection and expansion through different practices. And again, it's hard. You can't just say, I would never tell anyone this is the right way to do it, because it's not. Everyone's different. But those concepts, exploring with those concepts in mind is so potent and powerful that when you keep that focus and you keep that intention, the stuff starts to kind of find you, right? When you're like, hey, my back sucks, my back really hurts, you start kind of looking for things that are going to make it feel better. Now, if you find stuff that's healthy or not, that's up to you. But like, I just mean like if you're going to use like drugs to cope the pain, or you're going to actually make a lifestyle change or find a physical practice, it's up to you. But it just depends on your perspective and how you look at it. And if you choose to consistently allow that to guide you and then to continue to show up. Does that make sense, kind of? It's like I'm all over.
No, you're not. It was literally like phone. Like, I get it. And you know what? My listeners hear this stuff too. So it's so good, like I said, to just, get that reflected back and just to hear another voice and like their perspective and just to say how you just got to find what is best for you. But in order to do that, you have to explore. You have to explore some different things. But I love how you said, hey, I don't know, talk to your team. You're like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I got to pour into me first. Like, that's my non-negotiable. And that's such a beautiful thing. So yeah, I probably need to do that too, putting it on like the airplane mode, like, and then take it off, because the world will eat you alive first thing in the morning if you pick up that phone and just go, it's like, all these things. But, you want to put that into like yourself. I do that now when I do my sessions. I didn't do this at first. I was always wondering why I'm so drained and depleted when I do like a session, because I'm pulling all that energy, but I'm giving all my energy versus channeling that, like how Lisa said, with the saucer and the cup, like just really channeling it from source and saying like, look, I'm using y'all energy, like not mine, because it was really wearing on me. And like doing like so many people like in a day, it was just like, oh my gosh. And then like, first of all, things should not feel like that when we're doing activities or work or whatever it is. You really shouldn't be completely drained like all the time. So it's like, you got to step back and say, okay, what can I do differently? And it's like, oh, that's right, because I'm pouring into everyone else except for myself. That makes sense, So even when you start to feel that fatigue and the stuff, you can question yourself, say, why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel like I'm on E in a sense? So that was beautiful. But so I always want to be respectful of people's time, because I know everybody is busy and got their things like going. But before we get off, like, how can people like connect with you? I'm gonna make sure that in the show notes, I let you guys know, because he has 2 dope books. It is just 2, right? Well, I've only read 2.
Yeah, I got 2. I mean, I got another one cooking right now, but that's taking a backseat on some other creative projects I'm working on at the moment. So. Okay,
well, I don't say, I know I read 2. If not, where's the other one? Send it to me. But be sure that you guys can get the information so you could check out like both of his books and really just kind of see like how, and understand that you are the rock star of your life. So I love how you break that down in the book. And me and Janine we went hiking one day, and we had took the second book with us. And we were like, she was sitting on a rock somewhere and I was sitting on a rock, and she was just like, oh,
And she had this whole like epiphany, you know, from just reading like in your book, and it was so beautiful. And I was just like, right, it just like opened us up. So like I love for like my listeners to like experience their own with that too. So I will make sure that they have that, you know.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah. And then just to preface a little bit, the first book is kind of a self-help vibe with a, you know, rock and roll spin on it with tour stories from the last like 17 years of my life. And it's something I poured my heart and soul into. So I'm really proud of it. And I'm just really grateful for all the feedback I've gotten from it, because it's been something that it's allowed me to serve people without actually physically being there, which is part of my intention of creating it, is that I wanted to be able to provide some level of support, guidance, love, reflection, and clarity for people when I wasn't always there. And part of that's probably ego, coming from a masculine perspective of wanting to live forever. But the other side of it is like, I've done yoga classes before my shows for like the last like 5 years. I like love doing mindfulness meetups and yoga classes, meditations. And a lot of the stuff I included in the books is stuff that I got positive reflections back from the people in the sessions. And they were like, hey, I tried this, or I did this, and I love this. And it's not like a yoga book. It's just kind of like a book about, you know, it's like getting focused, setting your goals, going after them, positive mindset, how to flip from a victim mindset into a victor mindset, which is what I frame as like a why me to try me mindset, which allows you to persevere around or through the things that are presented in our lives. And there's like a ton in there, which is like super fun. It's definitely one of my favorite things I've ever birthed in my life, aside from like musical things. And then my second book, just to also preface that one, is a little bit of a different spin. It's a much shorter read. I actually wrote it this past year. I channeled some energy last year. I was going through some like interesting energy, and I just channeled all of it into a book. And I wrote it about financial flow. And I wrote it about something I've been obsessed with the last year and a half, is learning about money, abundance mindset, how to diversify our wealth, how to diversify and set ourselves up for success financially, but also create a positive relationship with money. Because I think we all deserve to be balling out, and we all deserve wealth and abundance, but we're not taught that stuff in schools, unfortunately. At least I wasn't. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just that's unfortunately like we're prioritizing other things. And this book, I sat down and just kind of wrote, it's dense with info, and it's all fun info. It's all info that I still frame in regards to like life experience and like touring in a rock band. But it's stuff, anything from, I'm breaking down, you know, how to diversify your time and energy, not only just your money, because I think that they have correlating concepts with the self-help world and the financial world, to where like you look at, you know, how you invest your time and energy into your life, and what you invest in, you then create, right? So dope, because then it's like, yeah, okay, you put money in something, you're investing in something. It's different than buying. You're investing to get a return, to make more money long-term. And then when you diversify, which was a fancy word a long time ago to me, it's just you're spreading your energy in different spots to create a well-rounded, balanced life, AKA portfolio. That's kind of what it is. And so I kind of break it down in regards to that kind of thing. So it makes it attainable, and like helps to create, I think, awareness about how to build a stable financial like background, so that this way, whether we're in a different, like whatever stage we're in our financial health, is great. We just need to kind of understand where we are, so that then we can make choices moving forward. And on top of it, there's techniques at the end of each chapter that I love, that are like techniques to expand our subconscious mind into creating more wealth into our lives. I won't get into how that happens.
They gotta read the book. Like it was easy.
It's good.
It was, both of them were easy to read and to digest it and to take it in. And that's what I loved about it. So it wasn't like, so if people hear like, oh my gosh, like a financial book, like nowhere like near, like it's not, it is, but not like that typical. So it was really easy to like follow. And it just makes it feel very attainable, even no matter what situation that you're in. And I'll just say that from experience, because I've been in a lot of different financial like ones. So even when I think of those at the time, whatever that mode of financial, space I was in, I'm like, yeah, I could see this, helping me and not making me feel like, well, I just can't do that because I don't have anything. It's not like that. So it was such a good, a good read that, everybody can apply like those things to whatever situation that they're in life. So Thank you for both of those.
Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you for letting me plug them.
Oh no, of course, and like I said, I'll make sure that they'll have like your Instagram and everything as well, and all that good stuff in there, because they told me to like vibe with you, because you're supposed to be definitely be a vibe. I'd be like, look at him with the handstand, like I'd be like, I could never.
You're inspiring me. I got to start posting some more handstandy stuff after this.
Yeah, seriously though, like I love it. So, but thank you again. I really do like appreciate you. You spending your time here with us.
No, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for also creating this network. It's really beautiful, and I look forward to having more episodes up on it myself on my show. And yeah, thanks again for facilitating and creating this dialogue that can serve and guide and just share some light, because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to Seeing with Your Soul. If something you heard resonated with you, feel free to rate, review, and share with others. If you are looking to go deeper, you can connect with Tisha Michelle on Instagram at Mindset Slayer, or visit www.healingalignglow.com.